Hi, my name is Paul Biliti. I'm the fire marshal here in Madison Heights. Basically, my job is to make every building or structure in Madison Heights a little safer than when I walked in for the first time. We do that primarily for our business owners, our building owners, the people who are patrons of those businesses, and ultimately for my firefighters here in Madison Heights. If we have to go inside of a building, we want to make sure it's as safe as possible for everyone in the community. Morning, Fred. Paul Biliti, Fire Marshal.
Hi, Paul. Good to see you.
Just going to do a routine inspection on the building today, look at some life safety issues, see if you have any concerns for me, and just have a couple quick questions. What do you guys do here?
We're an electronics distributor, industrial electronic components.
Very good. So is the back more storage or production?
It's more storage. We don't produce anything here. We're a master distributor.
Very good. The building is sprinkled,
Yes,
so
sir.
there's a sprinkler system inside there. Do you guys have a fire alarm system?
We do.
Okay. When we walk around, can you just show me where those are and let's take a quick look at those? Any crazy chemicals on site that we need to be aware of?
Nothing that we have in this building, no, sir.
All right. So if you don't mind, we'll just walk the building and take a quick look.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
So some of the things I'm looking for is their fire extinguishers, making sure they're certified annually by a third party every year, making sure that the pressure is still in the green zone, and it is good. I'll look at the electrical system, so I know that the circuit breaker for the fire alarm system is inside this one. So I'll take a look, make sure it has a lock on it, and it's always a red lock for the fire alarm panel, so that can never be shut off. So as we look around, we see that they do a lot of storage inside here. We want to make sure that their aisle widths are wide enough that people can go in and out. So while I'm walking, I'll look at the ceiling and look at their sprinkler system. The gold or brass colored protrusions out of the pipe there are the sprinkler heads. We want to make sure that they're not corrosive, any corrosive substance on there, or painted that would interfere with the function of the sprinkler head. This room here is pretty important that we take a look at. This is their pump room. Inside here is where water from the city comes into their building to supplement their fire suppression system inside here. This is a rather large building, so when you get something of this size, to keep that water pressure up, we really need to install one of these things, and it's called a fire pump. This will actually increase the pressure if there was an activation of multiple sprinkler heads inside here. So some of the things I'm looking for is where it comes in from the city, which is going to be over this way. It goes through this large apparatus and pumps and builds up that pressure. So what I'm looking for is the last time it was inspected. So I'll come over to this tag, and 6/7 of 22, a third party, National Fire Protection, came out and certified this system. That has to be done annually. I'll take a look at the pressures inside. There is the pressure that is inside the sprinkler system right now, and then the pressure at what it's coming in from the city. This is kind of the brains of the operation. This is their fire pump. So by cycling that, I know that the pump is still working. Another thing that I look at is making sure that they have spare sprinkler heads inside there. So if there was an accidental piece of equipment hits a sprinkler head and busts one off, we have spare sets on site. This room also houses their fire alarm system. So I'll come here, the same kind of things I'm looking for. I'll open up the box, see the last time it was inspected. We know it was approved on 5/18 of 21. All right, so specifically on this portion of the building, we're looking at high rack storage. Things that are important to the fire service is making sure that what they say that they're storing is exactly what they're storing. So no crazy chemicals. We want to make sure that any type of combustibles are stored properly. Height of the storage is another thing. In a sprinklered building, which this is, they can pile it up 18 inches from the ceiling. They're well within that right now, but I would walk every single aisle here, make sure that the aisle width is within standards, and that it's not piled up too high. This specific company has for its employees an AED. So this is something that I carry on my fire marshal vehicle, but it's an automated external defibrillator. This is a very proactive company, and they look out for their employees and they train them in this and how to use it to possibly if a CPR situation they can restart someone's heart. Thank you for letting us come in and take a look at your building. I didn't find any violations. You have my phone number. We can work together anytime. If you need anything in the future, don't hesitate to call me.
Thanks, we appreciate you coming out, Paul.
We're a relatively small department, so everyone in the department wears a lot of different hats. First of all, my number one job is fire prevention. I work a lot in the community with our business leaders, with our senior citizen groups, go out there and talk about life safety issues, things that are important to them, and try and make our community safer. Just checking it out. Hello. Hi, Fire Marshal. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Is there a manager around? Paul Biliti, I'm the Fire Marshal. We're just going to do a routine inspection, take a look at the restaurant front, take a look at your hood suppression system, and then we'll be in and out.
Okay,
All right?
good.
Cool, thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you, Paul.
So again, what I'm looking at is emergency lighting, any type of storage that we have here. So I'm a little guy, so I have to use my stick to check that. When I press the button, the white light should come on. That tells me that the emergency lighting is appropriate here. So I look at this particular fire extinguisher. The tag, last time it was done was October, so it's good through October. But I look at the gauge in there, and it's outside of that green area. So that means it doesn't have a charge in there. So this would be something that I would write a violation for. These containers are for the pop system and the soda system. Those really need to be chained to the wall. So that's another thing we'll write them for. So this is what I'm talking about. They have their cooking vessels here. They have to have fire suppression underneath them. So this is basically a nozzle. If there was a type of fire here, a chemical would come out of that and put that fire out. These things, depending on the use, have to be certified by a third party either every 6 months or every year. So we take a look at this tag right here, 10/4 of 23, so it was just done a week ago. So they're well within where they need to be. Another thing that I note is roof access. So this is kind of important for the fire department. If there was a fire inside this building, instead of having to use a ladder on the outside of the building to gain access to the roof, I can tell my guys, hey, there's roof access inside, here's where it's located, here's where you need to go. So when you have a hood suppression system with a cooking system, you also have to have a certain type of fire extinguisher. This is called a K-class extinguisher. It's the silver ones. We want to make sure that there's free access to this, so we're going to ask them to move this laundry basket. Again, I'm going to check the date when it was inspected and the pressure inside of it, and it's good to go. That needs to be within 30 feet of their hood suppression system. A bit bigger cooking area. Again, I'll check the last time it was serviced. So I have it tagged from at least June of this year. I want to make sure that the nozzles are free from any debris, and that there's a nozzle for each one of the vessels that you're cooking in. We want to make sure that there's not a huge buildup of any type of greases or anything. Boston, you guys recently had the hood suppression people out?
Yeah.
They said that there was one spot that needed more or something. Do you remember hearing about that?
Don't recall.
Okay. I know they're coming back out.
Okay.
Oh, this was another one we were talking about. So, I get alerted from a third party when there's any type of deficiencies, and I think this is the one they're talking about replacing, and they're coming out next week.
Next week?
Just so you know.
Okay. All right.
All right. So with the beer coolers, they actually pump carbon dioxide inside there to make our beers fuzzy and fizzy. We want to make sure that they have an alarm system that if it reaches over a certain level, that it will sound. That's right up here. And everything's stored properly. So again, when we get out to the restaurant area for the patrons, looking for the same kinds of stuff. This is more life safety stuff. I want to make sure doors are open easily. We can go inside and out. Check any fire extinguishers. There should be a fire extinguisher every 75 feet roughly of travel. Make sure that they're not blocked. I'm going to check some emergency lighting. And that one needs a new battery. This is for an emergency exit. So depending on the number of people that you have inside your restaurant or inside your public assembly, depends on how many doors you need. So this meets the requirement, and this goes straight out to the roadway. Perfect. Another door we would check. This is called a pull station. If there was a fire inside this business, the public is encouraged that on the way out, as you're leaving, pull the fire alarm down. It would access the fire alarm panel and alert. It would send a signal to the fire department that there's a fire, and it would alert the occupants inside the building that they need to be exiting. So I have a few violations that I'm going to write up for them. And they're not really, I mean, they're violations, but we just want them to make the corrections. So I'll give them a list of stuff, give them a certain amount of time to have those corrected, and I'll come back and do a re-inspection and hopefully get compliance. I put a date that I'll come back in on November 9th. If you need anything before that, give me a call. Okay. Cool, man. Thanks for letting us come in. Thanks for letting us film. Another one of my responsibilities is to determine cause and origins of fires. So anytime there is a fire inside Madison Heights, the fire marshal gets called out to the scene. I conduct a thorough cause and origin investigation. It's important not just for learning purposes, but that information gets tracked by the state of Michigan and ultimately the United States to help fine-tune fire prevention and fire prevention methods to our public. They do a really good job as far as their prevention kind of stuff, so I wasn't too worried about this building.
It'll be.
So these guys are basically designing a upgrade to their fire suppression system, so their sprinkler system. So what they're storing inside of this particular building actually needs a more substantial fire suppression system. So we'd run this flow test to see if there's enough water from the city that can go and supply that system inside.
I think we're going to do, if you're going to block the road up over there, that first lane, then we'll probably open that one up down there, both sides, and do a full port flow and hand feed on both sides. That way it gives us a way bigger window. All right.
So they're going to flow these fire hydrants. When you see what comes out of these fire hydrants, it's going to be this brown, milky, rusty type of color. That's absolutely normal. Sometimes this water sits inside these pipes underground and it gets stagnant and it does rust. So even if we were to flow through a fire truck, after we do this, we actually do what we call flush the fire hydrant. So we'll open it up and let water come out of it until it gets a clear color. It gets all that rusty water, junky water out of there. So oftentimes if you see someone in your neighborhood where we're flushing fire hydrants, we always tell you to run your water inside your house, especially before you're doing your laundry or taking a shower, and flush that rusty water out of there. So sometimes if you see brown water inside your pipes in your house, flush that stuff, maybe 15 minutes, let that water run until that rust is gone. And then we always ask them to have the ability to pump out the hydrant after. So when you spin the little knob up on the top, it opens up a valve down at the bottom. And that, so right now it's dry. Because if it was wet and it gets to be November or January or February and it freezes, it would freeze that hydrant, it wouldn't be able to work. So it's dry now until below the frost line. So after they do this, it will become wet, so we ask them to pump it out after. So they'll actually pressurize it with air in the barrel, so it's dry again.
So thank you for spending a little time with the fire marshal today. I hope you got to see some interesting things that happens in the routine day of the fire marshal. But just like everybody else, now the real work begins. I have to go back and do some paperwork. So thank you for your time.